to another up close video. Today's one is for the special delivery postbox die set, which is part of the birthday week / Christmas in July for Tonic for 2023. And this one creates this gorgeous dinky little post box. There's been a few different post boxes. There was the actual Royal Mail kind of pillar post box a few years back, and I think around a similar time to that there was also a different kind of post box that had like a slot in the top, and I'm sure for one of the shows for Creating Craft I turned it into a birdhouse and got Mum to knit some little birds to go inside it. And then now we have this gorgeous little post box, which is more like, I would think this would be really nice for like a wedding gift, and people could put little notes or something inside here, or for children to post their little notes to Santa as well for the Christmassy kind of theme. I don't know if there's really that much Christmassy about this. I mean, there is holly elements in the designs. There's a tiny little deer and a snowflake, and some of these sort of elements kind of sort of scream Christmas. But obviously the little envelopes can be used all year round. You've got things like lots of love and XOXO, hello for you, from our home to yours. That doesn't have to just be at Christmas time. So there's lots of pieces in here that don't have to be Christmas, but I think it is more of like a Christmas die set, but I definitely don't think that it has to be Christmas. But it's a gorgeous little post box. You can hear I put some letters in there, hence why it's shaking, but I'll show you those later on, and I'll tell you which bundles that I've used to create them as well. So part of the birthday week, Tonic have also been bringing out different bundles. I think they've been bringing out specific ones on specific days, but I didn't have any of the ones that were specific to the post box. So I just went back to some of the other ones I'd been using for the different launches and just brought out like, well, for one of them it's the same kind of elements as one of the other projects that I did, but for the other one I kind of picked out different colours from that bundle of goodies to kind of give it a different look as well. So, you know, you can play around with the different bundles, or obviously just go with whatever colour scheme that you want to as well. But this is actually a die set and a stamp set. I didn't actually use any of the stamps because I was just mostly focusing on using the gorgeous cardstocks from the bundle and die cutting everything. But you have the ability to decorate these gorgeous little envelopes just with die cutting, or by using all of these gorgeous stamps as well. And there's tons on here. I suppose I should show you, I'll show you the stamp set first. There are tons of different elements on here, and some of the dies actually coordinate with these to be able to cut them out, but then all of the dies can also be used standalone as well. So you've got mail and post, so it works well for us in the UK and also elsewhere as well, who people call it mail rather than post. You've got both of those versions, which is nice. You've got little stamped versions of an envelope, the back and the front of it. You've got gorgeous little different postage stamps. This one's slightly more square, this one's more rectangular, and you've got a little snowflake on this one, a candy cane on this one. There's a couple more down here with a heart, so you can do it for Valentine's Day, and a little flower, so it could just be for spring or for Easter as well. You've got a gorgeous snowflake here. You've got a little postmark kind of portion which is separate to the circles, which is really nice, and the circles say North Pole Mail, going around with a little stag prancing across the middle, and then also sent with love, so again that could be for Valentine's Day, doesn't have to just be Christmas. Then the rest of the words here say to and from with the little semicolons, or I think that's an actual colon. And then you also have just a note to say thanks, letters to Santa, you have mail, hello, love and hugs, special delivery, I love that scripty font, Santa Claus North Pole. And I actually really like that these look like handwriting as well. It's really a unique kind of feature to sort of add on to them. And then also love you as well. Then you've got like the Par Avion kind of lines to go around one of your envelopes as well if you're sending things abroad. You've got those gorgeous lines that you could do in red and blue to look like airmail, or you could just do them in like red and white so it looks like a candy cane as well. And then you've got a different version here with like fancy sort of parentheses kind of pieces that will sort of go around the corners of the envelopes. And then you've got one final little trio of hearts as well. And then dies that coordinate with this. You have two different envelopes that you can create in here. So you have the larger envelope, which goes in these two pieces, and this one you stick over the top like that to create your main envelope, and it's that way up. These two fold in first, then the bottom flap, and then you have the top flap that you can leave open so you can actually put something inside it as well. And then you do also have the mini envelope as well, so you can use these on your cards, or you can use them to go inside the actual post box itself. But I think they're just a really versatile, lovely little die. You can never sort of have too many quirky little dies, because I mean, what if you want to send just a birthday card to your postman? You could do some cool funny sort of card with tons of envelopes all over it. What if you have someone who's a Harry Potter fan? You could have an owl and pretend it's like Hogwarts letter from with Hedwig delivering it or something. You know, you can do all sorts of funny things having little envelope dies, whether you like just glue them completely shut, or whether you actually have them as little elements that you can pull things out of on your cards. It's really nice to have those little envelopes. So you've got the larger one and the smaller one. And then within these extra dies here, this die can mat onto that envelope, but you can also use it to cut out these little pieces here. So I mean, this could be a postcard, and then this can be a back of an envelope, or this can be the front and the back of the envelope. Perhaps you could cut two of them and stick them back to back, stamp one on one side, one on the other side, and it would look like a double-sided little letter. Or maybe if you haven't got so many scratches on your die cutting machine that the back of your die cut isn't all scratched, you could just stamp that on the back of it as well and have a double-sided little letter. So you've got that lovely little die there. Then you also have these little postage stamps that look fantastic just die cut with some of the debossing elements that are in the die set, but they will also perfectly cut out a couple of these stamped ones. So this sort of more squat one cuts out that one with the snowflake on, and also the one with the heart on as well. You can cut that out perfectly. Then you have this longer rectangle, which will cut out the one with the candy cane on, and it'll also cut out the one with the flower on as well. I better put these back so I don't lose them. Actually put that way around. And then you also have the circle die. So you could use the circle just to cut out snowflakes and have little scattered circular elements on your cards as well. Or you can use the circle to cut out those little postmarks as well. And they could be tucked into a little cluster of embellishments on an envelope. They could be added to the actual post box itself as well. Or you don't even have to use the stamps with the actual die set to make the three-dimensional project, as I've shown. You can just use the stamps to go with cards with letters and things on as well. So if you just want to stick to die cutting for a three-dimensional kind of project, you can do that, or you've got the stamps to sort of mix them together. Then you also have this piece that is the layering portion to go on the large envelope, and that will give you the perfect piece to stamp those little dashed lines onto, and also those fancy like parenthesis sort of corners or brackets on the envelope as well. And those are two separate stamps, so you can use them however you want to. I reckon maybe the smaller one, maybe if you stamped it straight onto the envelope, one of those might just fit on the small envelope as well, if you wanted to just add a little bit of detail on there. Then what else coordinates with this? Is there any other pieces that coordinate? I guess these ones as well. You've also got the scalloped rectangle, and that could cut out either of those too. And then you do also have this larger postage stamp kind of design, which you could possibly have already stamped this and then put that on, and you'd have like the tiniest little bit on the edges of the postage stamp if you wanted to add a little bit of colour to it as well. Or obviously any of these pieces will fit the wording on here too. So any of those words that you've got on here, this could be a little tag that says to and from with the postage stamp edge to it. You can have special delivery, you can have Santa Claus North Pole, this could stick on the front of the envelope. You know, you can mix and match things as much as you want, but coordinating die wise, those are the ones that coordinate. Then going back to the actual die set, I think I'm going to do what I did in a previous video recently, have the magnetic sheet off to the side so I can put things back where they're supposed to be when I take them off to show you. So to make the actual post box, you need this really large die, and you can get 2 of those out of one A4 piece, which is nice, but you just need 1 of these to create your post box, and this wraps around from one foot all the way over the top of it to the other foot as well, and you've got these tabs on here, which I actually used 2 of the front pieces and 2 of the back pieces so that I could stick the tabs around one die cut and then like neatly put another one on the front of it. But you do get full instructions inside the packaging. I didn't actually have the instructions, so I'm not sure what the instructions say for how to put it together, but I decided to use 2 of the pieces so that I could stick this to one first and not matter if it wasn't 100% neat, and then stick the other one on top to neaten it up nicely. So you know, whichever way you kind of want to do this. And I did actually run my tape all the way along these and not slip in between, just kept a full strip of tape, which is also why I decided to have 2 die cuts so that I could assemble this, have any exposed adhesive, not have to worry about it, and then stick a neat one on the outside as well. But to make the actual post box, you need 1 of these, then you need 2 of these. Oh, one will be the front and one will be the back, and for the front piece you have this portion to cut into it, so you actually end up with this little flap that opens, and you have a place to be able to make a locking mechanism for it as well, and you also have the slit in the front too, so you can post the letters, but you can also retrieve the letters through the flap. And for the back of the box you just need the plain solid one. So for the back of my box I cut 2 of these, and for the front of my box I cut 2 of them, then I cut one with the die cut pieces in, and then for the other one I actually cut another plain one and used the die cut that I'd already cut, drew through the openings, and then trimmed it out with my scissors just a tiny bit bigger than the openings so that I wouldn't have any trouble lining it up. But you can kind of do it however you want to, but I found that that was quite an easy way of putting it together. So you take the second die cut for the front, you draw through these details and trim them out with your scissors just a slightly bit wider than the actual detail is. Then you use that sort of one that you've cut into that doesn't look as pretty as the first one that you stick all of these tabs to, and then you put the proper one over the top when you finish that has the flap built into it as well. I hope that kind of makes sense of how I put it together. But you need 2 of those, basically, 1 front, 1 back, or you can double them up and do it how I did, to create your actual post box. Then you also need 1 of these to create the base of your post box as well. So it's not quite square, it's slightly rectangular, the post box. I'm pretty sure when I was putting it together it's about 3¼ inches, yeah, by just over 3½ inches with the glue tabs included as well. So without the glue tabs it is about 3 inches by 2¾ inches, that kind of area of the bottom of the box. So it's a decent sized little box, and obviously you don't just have to post little letters through it because you have that big opening in the front. You can just put chocolates and stuff in it as well, so you can kind of put whatever you want to in there. But you need those pieces to create the actual box itself, and then you have all of these gorgeous decorative pieces left. And one of the decorative pieces has this cutting edge to the outside of it, which is a lovely long rectangle just by itself actually. You could even cut this, score it down the middle and make like a long skinny card blank kind of design as well, or maybe do one of those magnetic bookmarks. You could like cut it and then score it here and have a magnetic closure piece so it sort of magnets either side of a page in a book. You could do that kind of thing with it as well. But that's the main sort of panel piece here, and then you have 2 different designs that will go inside it, and each design is half the length. So the idea is that you cut it like this, then you take this piece out, you remove all of the intricate pieces that are in there, and then you place the die back in and you cut it again, and then you get that repetitive pattern all the way around the post box, and then you have like the joining point right at the top, so it kind of looks like part of the design anyway. But you have those pieces, and this pattern is absolutely gorgeous. I love this one, and it works so well for a card as well. I didn't actually finish my card. Where did I put my sample? There. I didn't finish it with a sentiment, but look at that panel just cut out and put on a card. Doesn't it look so pretty? I just did a cool Nouveau Vintage Drop squishy background onto mirror card for the background of this one. But that pattern, isn't it just absolutely gorgeous with the stars in like straight lines? There's hearts in there, there's gorgeous holly leaves, there's like berries on the holly leaves, gorgeous other leaves in there as well. Just really love that design, and it's a really nice modern Christmas sort of design. I feel like a scripty Christmas, maybe with a vellum bubble behind it, would just finish that off really nicely. And that's like an instant Christmas card. Any of your backgrounds that you might have, maybe you've done some jelly printing, maybe you've been playing with watercolours or acrylic paints or anything that you'd have like a gorgeous background for. Just cut a bunch of these gorgeous decorative dies into front panels for cards, put a pretty pattern of something behind, even pattern paper as well, and then finish it off with a sentiment, and it would be some really quick Christmas cards. And if you wanted to like amp this up a little bit or do it for a bigger card, you can just cut it into a rectangle. You know, you can cut a rectangle around with your paper trimmer, layer it up, matte and layer it, add a ribbon going across it or some twine, or add a focal element, maybe like a die cut poinsettia or some of the holly leaves and icons and stuff from some of the other sets that Tonic have brought out this year, or from within the birthday week celebrations as well. But just really love that pattern, really, really pretty. I'll show you that card again later, I think, but really, really gorgeous pattern, that one. And then you also have this pattern. If you want slightly more of a, I feel like this is more of like a wedding look to it, more of like a fancy regal kind of look. It's got gorgeous straight lines, gorgeous swirly designs, almost like a fleur-de-lis in the centre, straight lines with the swirls around. This kind of reminds me of the pattern that was in that birdcage die set that they brought out a while ago. I'm sure it had swirls going through straight lines like this, as like a raw iron kind of cage sort of design, but really, really pretty. And for this one, you can make it look different because you can run it through this way and then this way, or you could run it through this way and then this way. So you could make the pattern join here, or you could make the pattern join here, depending on what version you want. I made it join here, but I think it would look really lovely if you made it join here as well. So you can play around with which way up you put these dies when you put them going across from each other as well. So you've got those decorative pieces. You also have the decorative piece to go on the front little flap of the postbox as well. You've got a gorgeous, like, almost like spirography kind of design, which goes with that gorgeous, more regal kind of one, with really thin details in the die cut as well that you can put on the front of it. And you have the separate outside edge. And then you also have the pattern that matches my favourite pattern panel from the die set as well. So you've got this one that's got gorgeous holly in there, these other leaves and the stars and the other bit of foliage as well. So you've got that one that can go in there too. Then you also have the decorative piece to go on the arched portion of the postbox as well. So this arched portion here, you have that gorgeous arched die, which I think would make brilliant apertures in a card. You could do some really funky designs, having like sort of like a half circle there, bringing another one down like this, or like doing them opposite each other, or having a sentiment going through the centre and leaving a gap between two of them. You could do all sorts of different things with this one, but you also have the decorative pattern. You do only get one decorative pattern for this, but you get that gorgeous one that kind of goes with the regal design. It's kind of mimicking part of the pattern. Oops, if I show you just there, it's used that exact same portion from the pattern, so it mimics that and adds it on another portion of your box for you. But if you wanted something to go more with this kind of funkier decoration, I did use this one with the funkier one and it looks perfect. But if you did want something to go more with that, you could, if you want to, die cut this main big panel and stick it onto something solid and then use that to die cut it out, and then you'd get the pattern, the same kind of pattern onto it. Or you also get this die in the set as well, which contains multiple foliage kind of pieces, and you could also put like a selection of those on the top curved portion of your postbox as well to kind of decorate and bring in the same kind of colours or, you know, patterned sort of pieces that you might have seen within the other patterned panel as well. So you can also do that. Then as a locking mechanism for the box, you have this little piece here. I'm not sure if I used it correctly, but I found just using this piece with a brad and twisting it in front of the panel held it shut nicely. But I think what you're supposed to do is fold this piece over where these little score lines are, stick them back to back perhaps, or possibly stick them out to the sides, and then you can place this little keyhole over that central section, and then this piece is supposed to twist through the little aperture that this would kind of make. I did try to do that on one of mine, but I feel like the piece of card that I had used for this little lever and the way I'd put the brad in there, it wasn't quite loose enough to sort of swing round and go through something else. But you can definitely play around with this, and I'm sure the instructions probably tell you how to do this, but I didn't have the instructions for this one, so I can't tell you exactly how it's supposed to go together. But I'm sure there are multiple ways of using that. Then I think most of the rest of these little details that are left are just pieces that you can use to decorate your envelopes. So if I move this off to the side, bring these envelopes back in so that I can kind of show you where they might fall on here. And actually, if you are just using an envelope for the front of a card or something that you don't necessarily want to be able to pull something in and out of, you can definitely just use this piece and have that flap coming forwards. You don't even have to bother with the bit that kind of makes it more three-dimensional as well. So you can sort of play around with how you want to do things like that. But with the rest of these dies here, if I bring these ones out, oops, you can see how you've got this die here to be able to layer up onto this envelope. I have shown you some of these dies already with the stamp set, but you've got this one to be able to layer up there. You also have this one, so you can decorate the flap of the envelope with a patterned paper or something pretty as well. And then you do also have this one too. So remember, these two side pieces fold in first, and then this piece comes up. So you actually have a decorative piece to be able to decorate that little portion as well. And you can actually use the scalloped rectangle instead for this one. I hope you can kind of see what I'm showing you. You can do the scalloped rectangle inside there instead, and you can also layer up and put this gorgeous postage stamp one that I was showing you earlier as well, and layer up either with the scalloped or with the plain edge as well, or just use the postage stamp by itself. And then for the small envelope, you have that lovely little rectangle that cuts out that little stamped letter with the front and back view of it. But you could also layer on one of the postage stamps if you want to, and both of these postage stamps look really lovely on the envelopes. I have used them on some of the envelopes, and I actually put it at a quirky angle here on this one, and then this one I actually used as an element just in the centre of that little envelope as well, so you can use them like that. Then you also get this ribbon as well. So this ribbon is actually sized perfectly to go around the envelope, but I did actually use it as a decoration on one of the post boxes that I'll show you later as well. But you've got that gorgeous little ribbon die cut. I've just spotted this one. This is a gorgeous scalloped little design, which you definitely could use on the envelope, but I think it is designed to go inside where the post box opens. If I show you on this one, just here you see, where the post box opens, I've put that little scallop die, I've stuck it up behind there and used that there. So you've got that piece to be able to decorate there as well. Or you could use it elsewhere on the box, maybe to add a trim along the bottom if you wanted to. Like a gorgeous little scalloped trim as well. You can kind of use it wherever you want, but I just saw that die on there, so I thought I'd better show you that as well. Then you also have this little selection of 3 hearts as well, which are always useful for scattering across your project. You have that circle die I was showing you earlier that you can cut out that postage mark with, but you can also die cut or like deboss dies into this circle as well. You have the words "for you" that fit perfectly in that circle. You also have the little Christmas tree motif. There's a tiny little Christmas tree. I'll show you these up close in a second. You also have a little heart that you could deboss into there as well. You also have the tiny little prancing deer that you can deboss into there as well. And you also have this tiny snowflake too that could all go inside that circle. And actually the XOXO I think could fit inside that circle too. I think that would work as well. Possibly the hello. Would that work? I think that hello would just fit inside the circle as well. But as well as fitting inside the circle, lots of these, not sure about the hello, possibly not the XOXO, but all of these other small ones here, the snowflake, the stag, the tree, the heart and the for you, can all fit inside the postage stamps as well. So I actually used the stag inside the couple of postage stamps that I did, and I used the snowflake inside the slightly squatter one as well. But you can use any of those in whatever combination you want to. And then, as well as all of those little elements, there's also 2 more sentiment ones that are debossing dies as well. So you've also got this one that says lots of love, and this one says from our home to yours. And you can deboss these directly into the envelope. The little envelope would take that really nicely. Or you could use any of the little decorative panel pieces. For example, that one with the postage stamp would look really lovely around that one. Or the little rectangle that layers on top of the envelope. You could die cut this first and then deboss the words into it as well. I think they might just about fit. Possibly not the lots of love one, but you can also do that as well, which is really lovely. So now I'll put all of those tiny ones away and I'll come back and show you my samples. So I'll show you this really simple cardigan first. I just absolutely adore that decorative panel, if you couldn't tell. And it works really nicely up both ways as well. I think it looks equally nice up both ways, which obviously they've designed it to do because it wraps around the post box. And the background of this is Turkish turquoise mirror card. Then I did some like squishing. You know how I often do Nouveau drops onto one piece of card, put another piece of card on, pull it off? I did that but sparsely, and I didn't pull it off onto another piece of card. I just used a scrap bit of paper because I knew I only wanted one background for this, but you could definitely put a normal piece of white card onto there to get a different background on another project as well. But I just thought doing it onto mirror card, I don't think I've done it onto mirror card before, so I thought it was a different kind of technique. And at first I used the Bohemian Teal Nouveau Vintage drop, and then I used some Winter Pear as well and did the same thing again. So you got like layered up blobs, but you've also still got that mirror card coming through as well. And I just really like the matte against the mirror. I think it looks really lovely. So that was just that really simple card, just to show you how you can take those beautiful panels and use them straight onto a gorgeous small card as well, which my favourite size, the card blank, is 10.5 centimetres by 14 centimetres, which means my panel is 10 by 13.5. I think, yeah, 10 by 13.5, yeah, that's right. And that fits perfectly on a card of that size. Then, these are the 2 post boxes that I have made. I'll show you this one first. This one is using the Minty Christmas, I think that's what it's going to be called, bundle of Craft Perfect and Nouveau. The actual bundle contains Silver Bullion Nouveau Flakes, Spring Green Normal Embellishment Mousse, Red Berry and Bubblegum Blush gloss drops, Nouveau drops. Then it has textured fuchsia pink cardstock, chrome silver cardstock, frosted silver cardstock, emerald green cardstock, water sprite cardstock, and pink chiffon cardstock. So for this one, I didn't use any of the Nouveau, but I used the fuchsia texture cardstock to create the actual body of the post box. And then for the decorative elements, I cut the detail from emerald green and the background from water sprite, and I meant to do that for this one as well, but obviously I wasn't paying attention when I was die cutting, and I cut the background from the emerald green and the detail from the water sprite, but either way looks lovely, and I think it kind of looks intentional to have done them the different ways around on here as well. And then there's also little elements of that pink chiffon in here as well, which is that gorgeous frosted kind of mirror card, and there's tiny little bit of the metallic silver as well, which is the chrome silver, just for that little lock over the top of a little silver brad that I'd used on there to attach this little locking piece. And you can see what I mean, like this locking piece, I think it is supposed to twist round and then go into that little piece that you put here with the lock on top, but I just found it works really nicely just twisting in front of this. And then you've got that opening, you've got the slot to be able to post your letters through, but you've also got this gorgeous opening in the front as well that you can then take all of your letters back out of too. So I've done 2 larger envelopes and 1 smaller envelope as well, and you can just lock that back up and it locks really nicely. Oh, I did decorate the back with some hearts as well. Those hearts are really useful for die cutting. I just cut a bunch of them out of all the colours, and I've put like some either end of this little ribbon because it's not quite long enough because it's supposed to go on one of the envelopes, but you can put it and then, you know, cover the ends with the little hearts. I've got the little fall away or the little tiny holly leaves from that little multi-die, and then I've put a tiny little star that fell out of one of the details in this pattern as well. I've got one of the little sprigs coming in from the side just to add little extra decorations on there and bring that little bit of pink chiffon colour into there as well. And then these are the dinky little envelopes. So this one, I put one of those little sprigs in the background, a tiny little heart, and then I've used the emerald green with the word hello as the little sort of decorative element on that tiny little envelope. So teeny tiny envelope. This small one is 1¼ inches, or like 3 centimetres, by just over 3/4 of an inch, which is like 2 centimetres, so 2 by 3 centimetres, little rectangular envelope, really, really tiny, cute little dinky one, which you can put into the slot in the letterbox. And then I did 2 larger ones as well, just to show a couple of different selections of die cut pieces on there. But don't forget, you have the stamp set as well, so you can actually stamp all of the details onto here. You can do that gorgeous handwritten, you know, to Santa, or Dear Santa, what did it say? Santa Claus North Pole, or Love and Hugs, or just a note to say, special delivery, love you, all sorts of different things you could put on here. But there's that ribbon going across it. I've layered up the plain rectangle with the postage stamp in the pink chiffon and the fuchsia, and then I've used the emerald green to do my little stamp with the stag in there, and I cut the postage stamp die with the stag in there, and it debossed that nicely just by putting them through together and just running it through with the die cutting sandwich, and it squished that little deer into there really, really nicely. And then I've just used a couple of hearts to decorate. And on the back of this one, I'd also cut a pink chiffon little lock, so I thought, well, I'll put that on the back of that envelope as well. So that is the one that I kind of used elements from the Minty Christmas bundle of gorgeous pieces. And then the other bundle, I didn't even show you the other bundle, did I? I'll just show you this bundle then. This is the Peacock bundle, which I think will still be called Peacock because it's more of a better name than some of the other ones I've got names for. But in this bundle, it's quite a lot of cardstock, so a really lovely selection of cardstock. You get a 6x6 blue hues card pad, which has got 24 sheets in there, and there's 4 different colours in here too. We recently had one of these in a craft kit as well, which should have come out, should have come out by the time this comes out. So you might already be getting one in a craft kit, but you can never have too much gorgeous mirror card, in my opinion. So you've got that 6x6 pad. There's also misty grey textured cardstock, mauve purple textured cardstock, gold dust glitter card, turquoise lake glitter card, princess pink pearlescent card, Turkish turquoise mirror card, and there's also Turkish turquoise in this little pad as well, so you get lots of that. And then you also get cobalt velour, and there's also cobalt velour in this small pad as well. So you've kind of got a little test run of whether you prefer like an A4 sheet or a 6x6 sheet. And actually 6x6 sheets are very handy because, like this small little decorative die, you could easily cut from some of those 6x6 sheets as well, rather than having to cut into a full A4 sheet. But you have the full A4 sheets to be able to cut those long decorative panels that go all the way around the box, which I didn't properly show you that, did I? But it goes all the way up and around. You have that little join in the middle, but it looks purposeful because it's right down the centre, and then it goes back down the other side. And for this one, I flipped it over. You can see there's a holly leaf down here and down here, so it's the same pattern coming up, and it's the same pattern at the top, but because it's different, they're opposite to each other as well. So you can kind of play around with that. You could have flipped this one around as well and cut them, you know, like stacked them, so this one would be this way and then the other one would be that way as well, rather than flipping them. But yeah, this is the Peacock one bundle. And then there's also vintage drops in here, which is purple basil and bohemian teal, which is where I got the bohemian teal from to use with the Turkish turquoise mirror card. And I also brought in the winter pear nouveau vintage drop for that other card that I showed you as well. So that is the Peacock bundle. But look at this colour scheme. It's mostly like blues and stuff. If you look at this colour scheme, you sort of instantly think, oh, gorgeous blues. That's what my colour scheme for my project's going to be. But if you selectively pick some out of here, you can get a completely different sort of looking colour scheme to be able to make a box out of as well. So I really like these bundles because they kind of instantly make you think, oh, the name Peacock, you think of teals and dark blues and, you know, gorgeous colours like that. But there's hidden within there another different colour scheme that you could use, and you could also switch out the pink for the purple and get a different colour scheme as well, or even the grey for the purple too. But this is the other one that I created using elements from that Peacock bundle of goodies, and very similar obviously concept. It's exactly the same box, but I used the different panels on it. So this one has got the gorgeous swirly kind of panel, and it's also got this gorgeous more like fancy sort of panel, and you can see how I've buttered them up to be the same pattern. So here I did the same pattern as well, and here I've done the same pattern, so it's symmetrical coming out from the top, which is quite nice, especially for this one. This one doesn't matter as much, but this one is really nice having it being symmetrical, but you could definitely flip it up the other way and have this piece at the top as well, and then this portion would go in a different direction too. But that is the gorgeous pattern on this one. I didn't put anything on the back of this, but the actual box is made out of the pearlescent card, the Princess Pink, and it works really nicely for construction. I don't often construct things out of pearlescent card because I'm usually too frugal. I'm like, oh, I'm going to use white card and then put pretty panels on top of it. But pearlescent card is really lovely to construct with. I'd never actually really tried it before, but it works really, really nicely. So if you haven't tried it before, it's actually a decent weight cardstock to be able to use for this too. And it makes a nice sturdy little box as well. For the decoration on the front of this one, I've used both panels, which match on this one because you have that top panel for this one. I've also used lots of the extra little pieces on here as well, some from grey, some from the gold glitter card as well. I've used the little lock cut from the Princess Pink and put it over the top of the gold brad that I've used on this one, and I've put a little heart here as well, and then you can like twist that a little bit round, open this up. I've also put that frilly piece in there as well, and then in this one I've also got 3 little envelopes that I've made for this one too. We can just lock that back up, and I've got the little tiny baby envelope that's got a couple of little sprigs that I just ripped off lower down so they're not quite so long, and then I've put that little debossed snowflake inside the more square little postage stamp die on the centre of this one, and I've also put a little tiny gold heart on the back of this one. And I told you the size of that little envelope, but I didn't tell you the size of the bigger one, so I might as well do that. 2 1/4 inches, or roughly 5 3/4 centimetres by 1 5/8 inches, or 4 centimetres. So a decent sized little envelope. And the 2 of these I've decorated kind of similarly, but I put the ribbon straight on this one and diagonally on this one, and then just put a couple of I did bring the chrome silver into these ones as well, because I had cut these. I'd cut those pieces to go with this one, because that colour bundle had the matte and the glossy silver mirror card in it, so I had used those on that as well. And then for the backs of these I've just put a little pink heart on there as well, and these envelopes are cut from the Misty Grey. I think the other ones were cut from the Fuchsia Pink, weren't they? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're pink envelopes, yes. So Texture Craft Perfect works really nicely for cutting out the envelopes, but it also works nicely for building the base of the post box as well. So pearlescent works nicely, but also just the Textured Craft Perfect works really nicely too. So I hope you enjoyed this up-close video looking at the special delivery post box die set from Tonic, which is part of their birthday week / Christmas in July for 2023. If you're interested in getting hold of any of the products that I've shown, like the bundles or this die set, there will be affiliate links in the description box below the video, and if you go below the video, it's kind of difficult to find it these days, but it has like a little bit of what I've written, and then it'll say like see more, and then I think sometimes you also have to say see more again or show more, and then the whole list will appear of all of the different bits and pieces that I've linked to. And there's also a link to my blog post on there as well, so if you'd rather see pictures, you know, like to be able to see a bundle, what's in there, then you can go over to my blog post and there'll be little picture links that you can click on, and they have little icons underneath them for the different shops that I've linked to. So I'm presuming they'll have the same bundles on the UK and the USA Tonic websites as well. I'm not 100% sure, but I presume they will. If not, I'll link like a similar bundle on the American website. But yeah, really hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next one. Bye!